If you think that you need at least a week for your data analysis, then you should stop right now and watch this video. Normally when I talk to students, they tell me something like, oh, I think I need like 1 or 2 weeks for analyzing my data. I know where this comes from. It's a complicated topic. They don't have much experience normally, and sometimes mistakes happen, so you have to reanalyze to get the results. The solution is to spend the time where it matters most. This is what we're talking about today. So let's talk about time allocation. Normally when a student comes to me, they do not have much experience in analyzing data, so they plan on using like 3/4 of their time just for the analysis itself. So like this is all what they think that the analysis takes. Right? And the rest of the time they will use for the interpretation. Right? So this is how a normal student would come to me and they say, oh, I think in 2 weeks I will have all the results I need, and I think they are in the right order. What I show you next is how the time allocation normally looks like. So the normal time allocation is that 1/4 of the time is data prep. You have to prepare your data in order to get the analysis done. A quarter is rather on the conservative side, so sometimes you need a little bit more than this, but the main part here is that the data preparation, if you do it right and you know what you're doing, you will be rather fast, and it would take like an hour or maybe 2 if it's a rather complicated data set. So this is the first part we need. The second part is the analysis part itself. So how long does it take for an analysis? And what I tell you here, I assume that we have 5 to 8 hypotheses. Normally I say that the data preparation takes at least as long as the analysis, even double that. So normally it looks like this. We have 1/4 of the time which is data preparation, and then we have another 1/8 to 1/4 of the time where we talk about the analysis itself. And this is rather surprising for the most people, because data preparation with the analysis doesn't take more than 3 to 5 hours. But what is with the rest here? You should spend on the interpretation and the reporting of the data, right? So the reporting part is something which doesn't take that long. Let's talk about how you ideally should allocate your time. First of all, 1 or 2 things you should consider. First, you do not need 1 week to analyze the data, right? So normally it doesn't take a week. It should take around 3 to 5 hours from I have my raw data set to I have the results and I can interpret them. Even the interpretation should not take more than 1 or 2 hours. So this is one misconception right away. The second thing is that the researching of the methods for the statistics is not that big of a deal. So method research does not take that long, because for the most part you will see research. So for the most part the method research does not take hours on end, and you have to go in and check every assumption and stuff like that. So this is where the method research misconception comes from. And normally you do not need that time for this either, because if you know how to really nail your hypotheses, you do not need to method research that much. So try not to research every method that is time consuming and doesn't get you anywhere. Rather focus on your hypotheses, because then you see hypotheses. So instead of focusing on the method research, focus on the hypothesis instead. If you have the hypothesis straight, the method becomes obvious. I will talk about this topic in another video, but for now, please keep in mind method research is wasted time. Focus on your hypotheses, and then you will come to a conclusion which methods you should use for your analysis. First of all, we have to look at what we are actually doing. A normal analysis of data takes 3 to 5 hours, like I said, and we have like 4 steps on which this occurs. The first step is the data preparation. This takes double the time we need to analyze data. So let's do it like this. A good third of the time is just data preparation. Data prep. I cannot stress this part enough. Data preparation is very essential. If you do not do this in a good manner with this part, then you will have to do the analysis not one time, you have to do it 2, 3 or 4 times because, oh no, I haven't checked for outliers. Oh, I have to do it again. So data preparation is key. If you do this right, the analysis becomes very, very fast and very easy. Comment below how long you think a data preparation needs. How long does the analysis take? I spoiled a little bit because I said the data preparation normally takes like double the length of the analysis itself. So let's do it like here. So the analysis really does not take long. Analysis. So like you see here, the analysis does not really take that long. When I do analysis for 5 to 8 hypotheses, I need, I would say, an hour or 2. But for someone who's not that used to use some special software like I do, so I have my own software, but people who use SPSS are not used to using this, they need a little bit longer than this. The rest of the time, what you can see here, should be divided into 2 different sections. The first section is the data interpretation, and the other section is the data report, or the result report. The interpretation is not much, because if you can read statistics, the interpretation is very smooth and very easy. So let's look at the So the interpretation should not take that long, because you look at 1 or 2 numbers and then you know what this means normally, if you know what you're doing. If you do not know what you're doing, then the researching begins, because the interpretation is obvious. The program I use or I constructed for myself tells me what every necessary number. The last part, and this is where you should focus on, is here, and this is the reporting of the results. The reporting of the results, university or college has its own rules how to report which data, to do the tables in a special manner. Sometimes you need to have a text where you describe what you're doing, what the results are, and sometimes you have to discuss this even further in the discussion part after the results part. So all this will take like another 40% of your time. So if we compare these 2 time allocations, we will see that in my example, where we do not need a week to analyze anything, and we are a little bit more structured in the way we are going through this. So data preparation, plan more time for your data preparation, first thing, and the second thing, plan your reporting before you start the interpretation. This will save you much time and will give you a better grade in the end. Report it right away, do it with interpretation together, and then you will be safe and allocate your time for the last part. The analysis does not take that long. What's taking you long is the data preparation. One final note. Why do I just need 3 to 5 hours in total and can do the data preparation really, really fast? So the first thing is, I know what I'm doing. There's a skill gap here. To bridge this skill gap, I have created my own tool. If you click on the link below, you can go into the waiting list for the Statoria beta version. With this tool, you do not have to struggle that much with the data preparation like with other tools, SPSS, R, Stata, everything there what concerns data preparation is a really pain. I experienced this so often, and that's where the main skill gap comes from. The analysis part, the interpretation part, you also need some skill, but it's not, it will not haunt you like the data preparation, like I described before. So please subscribe and comment below if you have questions or I can help you with anything. Data preparation guide, link is in the comment below, and I hope this will help you to prepare your data